Places to set up today. So as we get people in here, we've got you folks over here for the first time joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. It's the Fantasy Jester Show. We're going to be getting to everybody over here in a little bit. We're going to be getting to everybody over here in a little bit. We're going to be getting to everybody in Blog Talk Radio in a little bit and several other platforms for the Fantasy Jester Show. So hold on one second while I go into Fantasy Jester mode, folks. Because that's right. As we get everybody in here, it is almost October 1st. You know what time it is for the Jester. Breast cancer awareness. Gotta rock the pink. Everybody joining over here probably seeing me for the first time. Folks over here definitely seeing me for the first time. Normally it's blue, everyone. And today, getting ready, October 1st, Monday, for breast cancer awareness. Gotta rock the pink. So I know you folks are new to it. You folks, some of you are mixed over here. We've got a couple of you that probably have seen it before. If you haven't, that's right. We've got the Jester rocking the pink tonight. How's everybody doing? Let's go ahead. Let me see what we're doing here, because for all of you, all at the same time here, this is brand spanking new for me. But let's get the Fantasy Jester Show started. NFL Week 4. How's everybody doing? Let's get everybody Blog Talk Radio in the house. Everyone, we've got a special surprise of who all those... I keep pointing over there. And hi, I keep saying hi to you. I'll talk about who they are in a minute. How's everybody doing over here? Get in the room, get settled. We're going to get this started. Fantasy Jester Show, Blog Talk Radio. Bringing you that crystal clear sound. Going to have one heck of a night as we're going ahead, getting this all started. Over here, brand new. Over there, we're going to be answering questions live tonight on air for the fantasy group. You know, you go over to Facebook, folks. Fantastic group over there. If you're not already in, get in there. Year-round fantasy football discussion. When I'm pointing over there, and you guys, you know who you are. You're in that group. I'll be answering questions from that group. So you want to go ahead and start getting over there in the group if you have questions. If you're watching this later on, which many of you will be, get in the group. I can ask your questions live as we're doing the show. Excited? Excited doesn't cover it. One of the things that we're going to do is we're asking everybody over here, get your questions in. I'll be talking to y'all in a little while. But tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to have JT. See, JT's been missing the show. As we're getting all this camera work set in the new studios, we're going to have announcements about that during the show tonight. We want to get Jason in here because he really does give some really great info. A bunch of you know him, and he's been chomping at the bit. He's willing to put up the sacrifice for the show. He is moving into a new location with his kids. We'll get into that later on in the show. But I'm going to tell you, if you are new to the Fantasy Jester Show, and again, a bunch of you over here certainly are. Last week, a bunch of people asked me, how'd last week go? They always ask, how'd you do? How'd you do? How'd you do? How'd you do? Predictions on this very show on Saturday and Sunday morning. Combined 85 predictions, hit 69 for 81.2%. Not trying to be, like I've mentioned before, not trying to be that guy, but that isn't a great week for me. It might be good for a bunch of you out there. And, I'll keep doing everything that we do. That's one thing JT and I both are very proud of, is that we go ahead and do a lot of research. I have a research team at this. Besides myself, we work at this so that we can bring each and every one of you the best information that we can and lead you in the best direction. Because whether you're learning how to play fantasy football or you already know how, but you want some more info, you lead a busy life, that's what people like myself, JT, are here for, to go ahead, do the homework, and let you know after all the research what it is that you should know. So let's get this started. We're going to go ahead. We've got Jason in here. We've got this going on over here. folks over here, get your questions in here. I'll be answering them tonight just for all of you. Besides the breakdown of every game, except for the couple of the late games, that will be tomorrow on the Fantasy Jester page and over here. See, later on, you're going to find out what the hell is over here. Okay? So, listen, folks. Tomorrow, we'll finish it up on the Fantasy Jester show and over there. But tonight, get everybody, get your friends, get people in the group. Tell them Jester is on live. JT's going to be breaking it down. We're going to go ahead. Let's get this started. Let's play a quick clip of JT and I the other day. We pre-recorded. This is the way we can get him until he moves into his new place. Well, you're going to hear the audio of JT and I talking the other day. And we're going to break this up along with my own live analysis for everybody and also taking the questions for everybody that's over here. The cool people are over here. The new people are over here. How's that sound? Sounds good, right? All right. And obviously, the best people listen on Blog Talk Radio. Thank you all for joining again. Love you all. All right. Let's get this sound going. Let's see what this is like. Let's try this now. And let's see how the sound is going for you folks live on YouTube and folks over here. If you can let me know.
I had told everybody that tonight would be the night we get him back in here. I know a bunch of you have missed him. I really haven't got to be honest with you. Maybe I missed him a little bit. All right, let's get him in here. Coming to you from Texas tonight, folks. B1.
How's everybody doing? Can you all hear him? Can you hear him over here?
How you been, Jester?
I'm doing good. How about yourself? Show's been going pretty good from what it seems. Yeah, I mean, we have week 4 coming up in the NFL. We've starting to see
get those questions going over here.
Teams aren't. The team in your state of Florida there, that's 3-0, the Miami Dolphins. So you got to feel pretty good as a Dolphins fan sitting at 3-0 at this point. So the season's been fun. It's been different. It's been interesting.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks. Okay, everybody can hear that over there. Thank you for the info on that. See if over here is doing it.
I'm pretty excited about this big move.
Thank you over here.
Family going to be moving into our new place at the beginning of the year.
And there's a chat over here too.
Yeah.
Dedicated. Yeah, going to have the office dedicated for the show. Going to have a green screen. Both studios are going to be set up identically with the green screen and the same equipment. The Fabertech Pro Super Pro lighting system to give us that extra pop. It's
nice.
Get ready.
Yeah.
Get ready because we got the YouTube channel. We got the new studio. Yeah. So that's what I'm excited about. Football is one thing, but this is something completely different.
The new YouTube channel.
True. And that's
the actual announcement will be Monday.
We're going to set up, folks, you got to imagine, we're having to set up both at his end and my end exactly the same. Going to have the green screen, everything, all been researching the lighting, what you should have and all that, so that we can bring you not just the best analysis or the guests and the jokes and all that, but the whole production of the show, what you're going to be able to watch on the YouTube channel. It's going to be, again, we're going to do what we can, but that part of it, we're going to go ahead.
YouTube.
Test different
Don't forget to subscribe. I'll be talking about that more
as we get into this part of it. And by the time JT's all set up in his new place, we'll have it so that when we get ready for spring training, we should be bringing some serious. You think I bring dumb promos now? Wait till we get this new studio in both locations.
You know it.
Yes. Put you and I in front of the green screen and the chaos and mischief that we can cause at that point. I mean, it just really doesn't get any better than that.
Shit's going to get real around here.
So it's going to be really fun being able now, not just that for us.
I can promise you, folks, you new folks, you folks are what's going to help take us to the next level.
Keep it growing.
You folks are right there. You guys are the building blocks.
You really are.
And we're all going to go over here.
Thank you so much.
We're going to switch back and forth.
I'm sure you're chomping at the bit to get to your first game. What do you got?
Yes.
There you go.
Well, we're going to talk another AFC East, the Buffalo Bills versus the Green Bay Packers. You kind of wonder which Buffalo you're going to get because I would say the survivor pool of quite a few people last week who just was sure that Minnesota was going to walk all over the Buffalo Bills, myself included. which Bills team are we going to see? Which Josh Allen are we going to see? This kid looks like he's getting markedly better each week. Makes me wonder if the Bills had something more at wide receiver than Kelvin Benjamin at this point. What could this guy actually be? He showed the athleticism. He moves well. He shows his fearlessness. This is a guy that, even in redraft leagues, I think people can maybe start looking at as a backup quarterback for your fantasy team. So overall, looking at Josh Allen, I'm quite curious to see what we see against Green Bay. We flip over to the Packers. The return of one of your guys, the guy you talked a lot about, Aaron Jones, last week. He looks good, over 5 yards a carry. Really can't complain about that. Aaron Rodgers, the brittle Aaron Rodgers. What are we going to see? Does it take that one shot to the leg? Because of his legs, does he get hit in the pocket because he's not able to escape? I still don't know what I'm going to see from Aaron Rodgers from week to week. He's played well. He's had some big games. Devontae Adams is someone that seems to just get that touchdown each week, 50 to 70 yards and a touchdown, so I want to see what he shows us this week. And last but not least, Randall Cobb, with a real Randall Cobb team stand up, because one week we see you go for 150 plus and a touchdown, and the next week you absolutely disappear. I want to see the Randall Cobb that we saw a few years ago, guy that played on the outside, not this guy that's running routes on the inside. He hasn't been right since they've been doing that. So I'd really like to see them get him back to the outside with Geronimo Allison to run the slot and run outside. I'd like to see them interchange those two a little bit. But all in all, Buffalo Green Bay, a fantasy hotbed this week for the matchup.
A couple of questions on this one. I found because there's a lack of targets, let's say, for Josh Allen, which I have to say, you have to be pretty impressed by a young man who went out there, put 27 on the board against Minnesota. I mean, still Minnesota. I understand what LA just did to them, but that's LA. You don't expect a rookie quarterback to go ahead and tag them for 27. And one of the things that I've noticed before, you get a new quarterback in and they find their own receiver. And let me ask you something, JT. Is Jason Kroon maybe somebody that we see pop out of nowhere in this offense?
At this point, if you're the Bills coaching staff, you think you got to get next man up. You got to get Josh Allen some weapons off there to throw the ball to. Zay Jones has just never materialized into anything more than his brother's punching bag. Kelvin Benjamin is not the guy we saw his rookie year. I don't think that, at this point now, when you look at him fantasy-wise, he's a low-end number 2 receiver at best, fantasy-wise. So, maybe we see him. I'd like to see Charles Clay get involved in the offense a little bit more. What's going on with that running game with Shady McCoy, Chris Ivory? There's no help for Josh Allen in any way, shape, or form.
Again, on the other side, going to the other team, are you seeing? Do you think that? See, I'm of the position where we're going to see Aaron Jones just finally take over as the regular running back there, or are you of? I haven't had the opportunity to speak to you about. Or are you of the kind that says he takes over, or are we going to continue to see a running back by committee there?
Yeah, I think he should take over, but what I think McCarthy looks like he wants to do is kind of go with the three-headed monster, if you will, with Williams, you see a little Ty Montgomery, you see a little Aaron Jones. It just seems to be the in vogue thing in the copycat league known as the NFL these days. You see other teams doing it, so I'd rather see Aaron Jones get the complement of touches that you see an Alvin Kamara get or something. Can you imagine with the talent level that kid has what he could do with that kind of workload?
All right, cool. Hang on a minute, and I'll get you back in for a couple more games in just a little bit. Thanks.
And there you have it. The first game broken down. That's how, until JT's in his new place, okay, which will be right after the first of the year. That's pretty much what we're going to do to be able to still get him in here under all the new circumstances. As I finish up the studio, as he gets moved into him and his family, and he's got a cute little boy, I'm telling you, get them set up in the new studio. We'll have matching. He's going to have the green screen like we mentioned in that part there, and it's going to really take us all to the next level. All of you giving us great support, allowing us to do that. And so this is how we'll be able to bring him, because he is a big part of this show. He is a major part of this show, and he is on air. If you're new, especially you folks over here, and some of you over here are new, I have mentioned before, he is a walking encyclopedia of sports. There's a reason why he's with me. Between the two of us, as you've seen on a bunch of promos, we are the best 1-2 punch in fantasy sports, barring none. We'll put our records against anybody, period. So you heard him break down that game. It's great to have him back. Let's get to some live parts where I'm going to go ahead, give my breakdown now for all of you live, and then we'll get over here. Folks, get your questions up. And I keep pointing over here. If you're watching there, it was because during the live show, it is year-round fantasy football discussion, the group that you want to be in to get your questions answered. During the live show, during the week, it doesn't matter. It's a great group. Over there, folks, that's the new YouTube channel I'm talking about. We're going to have info on that on Monday. This is a test. I'm giving everything a test run. This is all for, listen, as good as I am in fantasy, all right, and in sports knowledge, I'm new to this. So we're breaking it all down, getting it used to, running the first show tonight quietly. Kind of think of a soft opening for a museum. Sounds good. And then we'll let the real crowds in on Monday as we go ahead, get our subscribers for the YouTube channel, Fantasy Jester Show on YouTube. You can start subscribing now. Let's go to the first breakdown game that I have, and that is the Texans-Colts. You know, when I take a look at this game, Watson's going to be facing a mid-pack defense, okay? And in that, I'm expecting a game where he's going to throw for probably, he's starting to find a little bit of a rhythm, but, you know, you got to understand, he's facing the wide receivers in Hopkins, in Fuller, facing a defense that has given up the second fewest yards allowed, okay? And so that's going to be, you know, they're going to lean on Miller a little bit more. They are going to be passing to the back out of a little bit more. So I'm expecting Watson to still have some struggles because, you know, the Colts defense isn't last year's Colts defense, folks. Let's be honest about that. So, you know, Watson, I'm taking 315, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Hopkins, Fuller having a less than spectacular day. Miller, you know, he must break 100 yards. And here, this is something for Miller and for those of you in leagues where Donta Foreman may still be on your waivers, on your wire there, and somebody who's getting ready to come off the PUP list. And it's going to be a back that might be active, especially if this week I'm saying Miller must break 100 yards against a team that is giving up the 7th most fantasy points to running backs. Last week, he had 10 yards on 10 carries. Catching out of the backfield this week is what I expect from him. Tight ends, listen, the Colts defense gives up the 4th most to the tight end, okay? And I'm expecting maybe this is where we see Ryan Griffin, who struggled out of the gate the first week, okay? Which tight end will score? Probably Ryan Griffin. I'd say it'll be likely to get his first touchdown of the year. On the other side of the ball, we're looking at the Colts. Luck faces a mid-pack defense, okay, and his under 50-yard restriction. You know, I've had some arguments with people that give me a week and I can throw the ball 50 yards, and I'll take anybody up on that. Give me 1 week and I'll put up whatever money and I can throw the ball 50 yards. I can get off this live microphone right now and walk out my door and throw it for 40 yards. So Luck not being able to throw it for 50 yards is a concern, folks. All right. And you want to start looking at the lack of consistency past 30 yards, not only just the volume, the lack of volume past 30 yards, but you want to go ahead and take a look at the accuracy past 30 yards. You're looking at a guy who, remember a guy named Chad Pennington? Okay, well, Chad Pennington had shoulder issues and became a backup quarterback in the league. Might be something to go ahead and watch, okay? Ty Hilton faces the 9th fewest Defense giving up the 9th fewest to fantasy wide receivers. Ebron saw 11 targets last week with no Doyle. Expect that to continue. In that 11 targets, though, he only had 5 for 33 yards. Look for more this week. The running game, it's going against the mid-pack, but again, with Mac and everything, it's going to be a three-way split. There's nobody that you really are counting on for more than a possible flex. Hines is your flex PPR, depending on how much Mac gets. But that backfield is something that you stay away from right now. There's a couple of backfields in flux that I'm staying away from. Getting over to the Tampa-Chicago game, Fitzpatrick or Fitzmagic, this is his last stand, folks. You know, let's be honest. Everybody knows he's a journeyman. They know he's a journeyman. He knows he's a journeyman, okay? It didn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that right after their bye week, week 5, you're going to see Jameis after the bye week, okay? And for those of you bitching and complaining about Jameis Winston and either A, what kind of person he is and all that, you're talking about mistakes made and possible mistakes that were made over 2 years ago. And now if you're looking for a quarterback, though, and you want to pay attention to stats, somebody who's not a journeyman, you look at his stats. Those aren't journeyman stats. He'll be back. I promise you that. Over his first 3 years, he just keeps getting better, whether you like the person or not. Listen, there's plenty of guys that I have on my teams. I'm not crazy about the person, but you know what? This is about winning money or winning a fantasy league. I really don't care. I'm not trying to make friends with the guy. I'm not trying to have him over for dinner. I'm trying to win a fantasy league with him, okay? Let's be honest. So Jameis will be back. Fitzmagic was absolutely awful against the blitz. You started seeing it last week. He started getting blitzed more. Don't look for a 400-yard game out of him this week. And really, Peyton Barber is part of this problem because he faces a Bears defense that is averaging 65.3 yards a game. So they're not going to have play action. They're not going to have a running game to have to worry about. Okay, that team's going to just be able to straight blitz and not really give a shit about anything else. On the other side of the ball, listen, here's a real problem. If you haven't paid attention, and folks, some of the things that you got to watch for when you're paying, especially quarterbacks. We talked about what luck can't do earlier. We're finding out, and this could be a problem. Mitchell Trubisky does not throw to the left. He does not like to throw to the left. He's inaccurate to the left. And it could be a problem here if this doesn't change. But against a defense like Tampa, who is just getting Vita Vea back, they're just getting healthy on the back end. They've been giving up the second most points. But because of those injuries and the people coming back, they're not going to give up as much, but they're still going to be working on communication. There's still going to be cracks every so often. So while it'll be improving this week, getting Vita Vea back, another week Brent Grimes back and all that stuff, okay, it's still going to take another week. So if Trubisky really doesn't have a big week this week, there's an issue there with him and something that needs to be monitored going forward. And I hate to say that. I know Chicago fans and Adam Rank and all, we've talked about this, and I break his poor heart where he couldn't be any more high having Khalil Mack. But then we talk about the Trubisky problem, and it kind of, he shuts up about his team. We go end up talking about something else. Anyway, so, Allen Robinson so far to date has had 7 targets, 14 targets, 7 targets, and will face against a group that has allowed the third most to wide receivers. You're looking for that to continue. Burton, I'm taking Burton this week. He hasn't scored a touchdown yet. Not only will he get 1 touchdown, he might get 2. There's a good chance, but I'm calling him for 6 catches, 65 yards and a touchdown out of Burton. Jordan Howard, Tampa gives up the 6th most points, fantasy points to running backs. So at the very least, I'm looking at 17 carries, 80 yards and a touchdown, plus whatever he might help, may or may not help. PPR, he might get another 2 or 3 catches there. Getting over here, we've gone ahead. We've given some breakdowns, folks. Now, again, I keep pointing over here for those of you who are new. This is the group year-round fantasy football discussion. I'm going to go over here, take some of their questions, and see what we can answer. Get back to the show. We've got more pre-recorded conversation between JT and myself. Let's get this going over here. Let's see who's here. Let's say hi. Let's answer some questions. All right, let's scroll back down. Christine Matisse. Hi, Jester. Hi, Christine. Taylor Cummings. Start Baldwin, Goodwin, or Callaway standard scoring. All right, well, I don't know how many you need out of that. Do you need 2 or 3? Tyler Cummings asked, again, start Baldwin, Goodwin, or Callaway standard scoring. So it's Godwin. Okay, Godwin, not Goodwin. Thank you. So we've got Baldwin, we've got Godwin, we've got Callaway. You got to figure Baldwin's going to be on a pitch count. I have Baldwin somewhere coming up later on one of my breakdowns. I have him down for actually a touchdown, but in limited action. They need the help out there. Godwin is a tough play. He's not going to see a lot of touches in this game. Callaway becomes the interesting one, folks. Callaway becomes an interesting play because of his talent and the ability of Mayfield to stretch the play. I've got to be honest with you. In that one there, Baldwin, Godwin, and Callaway, I'm going to go Callaway in this one. Standard scoring. He could have a big day. He could definitely have a big day. Don't sleep on Mayfield, folks. For those of you thinking that Mayfield might be, a flash in the pan and all that, what isn't a flash in the pan in the NFL is accuracy. And this kid is accurate. He is accurate on the move as he's extending plays, giving a wide receiver, a talented guy like Callaway or Juice, giving Landry extra time and accurate. Watch this Cleveland offense grow over these next couple of weeks. No doubt. Lamont Carlisle, what's up, buddy? He gives me a what's up, buddy. You got to say what's up to Lamont Carlisle, folks. He is the pit master. You want some great barbecue, hook up with him if you're ever out his way, for sure. Jonathan Jacobellis, I hope I said that right, Jonathan. Take the risk on Fitz against a strong Chicago D or go with a safe Flacco bet. I also have Josh Allen. What's your take on his future? Okay, so Fitz, I already just covered. I think he's going to struggle mightily against a Chicago. Let's be honest, it's a strong Chicago defense that likes to blitz. And the first 2 games where he did all the Fitz magic, okay, it was against teams that did not blitz often. Last week, yeah, he got 400 yards, but because, listen, you saw how many interceptions he had because he doesn't like the blitz. Hence the name Journeyman, folks. So you're not taking him, all right? Flacco, yeah, Flacco's the safe bet. Flacco's got a nice matchup this week, and what do we have here? Let's see. We've got I can't find them. Oh, Ravens, Pittsburgh. Yeah, I'll be going ahead. That's actually for tomorrow morning is the Ravens, Pittsburgh. But yeah, against that defense, that's not the steel curtain. So yeah, I'd go Flacco over Fitz on this one because I figure at the very least he's going to be keeping up with Roethlisberger there. Josh Allen, what's my take on his future? Kid's got a cannon of an arm. He's hurting for talent right now. You heard it if you were listening in just a couple of minutes ago, JT breaking down that Buffalo game. It's really about the weapons, not about his talent, not about his ability. He just tagged Minnesota for 27 points. And this is a guy that's talent-starved. He's on a talent-starved team. So you've got to like something like that. So let's keep this rolling. Let's keep it going. And get to a couple more of these real quick. Sound was great. Okay, yeah, that's right. We did the sound check. Greetings, Jester. Doug Headley, Galladay or Mike Williams, half-point PPR this week. This week only. You got to go Mike Williams in this, okay? Keenan Allen's a little ding. Going to be talking about that in the matchups. Pay attention to that. Galladay, You got Stafford with a tougher matchup this week, so you're going to see a little bit less. And Galladay, since that first week, if I remember correctly, and somebody can check me on this, all right, I'm sure somebody would be willing to let me know if I'm wrong on this, but and rather rapidly. Since the first week, I believe Galladay has lost targets each week successive. So the first week he had the most, a little less the second week, even less last week. And somebody can go check me on that too. So I'm going Mike Williams this week. Travis Olson, should I? Hey, Trav, what's up? South Florida, South Cali in the house. Sit Allen Robertson and start Michael Williams and put Marvin Jones as flex. No, actually, I would go ahead. This is going to sound crazy. I'm going to go Robinson and Williams and leave Jones out. I'd leave Jones out on that one, Trav. Allen Robinson gets the touches. He gets between 7 to 14 targets every week. Michael Williams is going to be getting a lot of targets this week. Marvin Jones is splitting targets on a team that's going to struggle to pass the ball in Dallas. Dallas has a tough pass defense. They suck passing the ball, but they've got a good pass defense. Real quick, I've got to get over to the next part. Oh, I actually have to keep a schedule now and pay attention to stuff like this because it is all timed and all that good stuff. We'll get back to your questions in a little bit. Let's play this next part of JT and myself discussing the next set of games. We'll get back to everybody in a little bit. Enjoy as you're listening to this.
You know what, folks? Let's get him right back in here. We had him on earlier for a single shot. Bartender, make it a double. Let's get a double shot of JT in here. Cincinnati, Atlanta, Jason. What do you got for us?
Another fantasy hotbed this week. A lot of folks out there picking up Tyler Boyd off that waiver wire, wondering if AJ Green was going to play this week. Listed with a pelvis injury, removed from the game last week, but from talking to the Jester a little bit earlier, it sounds like he's no longer on that injury report. So you figure he's going to assume that number one role back in the Cincinnati offense. No mixes. Mixes talked a little bit about this week, like he wanted to play. Smart move on Cincinnati's part. Keep this kid out. Let him get healed. Let him get right. Gio Bernard did a fantastic job last week. Another guy that you can stream this week. Looking at a guy that can catch the ball. He's still a good running back. 4.5 carry. He's not going to get you the 100-yard game generally, but again, total yards. Gio Bernard, somebody I like. We did have a Tyler Eifert sighting last week too. 74 yards receiving. The talent for this guy has never been in question. He's a glass cannon. Let's be honest. The guy is just injury prone. If you're going to have a Tyler Eifert on your team, you've got to have a good backup, like a Dallas Goedert, which is somebody that Carson Wentz is looking at. But we'll talk about it later. Let's flip the ball over to Atlanta's side. Will we see Devontae Freeman this week, or is it going to be the Tevin Coleman, Ito Smith show? But the guy I want to talk about is the guy that's putting up Julio Jones numbers, and his name isn't Julio Jones. Fellow alma mater, Calvin Ridley, the last 2 weeks, has been doing the Julio Jones imitation. And Julio's been kind of quiet over there. He put some decent numbers, but not what you expect. We're looking at a guy in Ridley that's putting up over 140 yards last week, 2 touchdowns. What I'd like to know is, where is Austin Hooper in this offense? Week 1, non-existent. Week 2, he got some play. They looked good. A nice balanced offense. He controlled the middle of the field. Last week, again, not many targets for this kid. It's one of those guys that has all the talent, but it just doesn't look like the offensive coordinator and Matt Ryan have the confidence to light this guy up week after week. Immensely talented, just doesn't seem to have the confidence of his quarterback. Again, we talked about the running backs. It looks to me the guy that safest play is Tevin Coleman at this point. If Freeman finds his way back into the lineup, obviously he'll get his play as well. But Calvin Ridley, like I said, he's a guy that, believe it or not, I saw this kid available still in a few leagues now. He's not once I saw he was. Jester, we talked about Calvin Ridley a few months ago back on one of our draft shows. The kid's got immense talent, and it looks like he's getting the play to go with it now.
Yeah, no doubt. He definitely is. And he's a talented young man. But in this kind of matchup, I think this might be where we see Hooper. As far as Ridley, I think, you got a 3 touchdown performance out of him last week against New Orleans defense, giving up a lot. This week, it's a little different. They play a Cincinnati team giving up the 13th fewest to wide receivers, but meanwhile, they are giving up the 5th most to tight ends. So I think in this one, Jason, I think we see a Hooper sighting for a touchdown in the end zone for at least one, maybe even 2. Ooh. Going on the other side of the ball, though. I'm good. Listen, they're going to use the kid. He's seen limited targets. He's only seen 4 and 5 targets, okay? But those 4 and 5 targets in this game are going to be scoring plays. You're going to pick the weakness in the red zone, in my opinion. I think we're going to see a game where in the red zone, they're going to pick on that weakness of the Cincinnati defense, and that is in the middle. And conversely, on the other side of the ball, you're going to see the same damn thing. See, because Paul Eifert is healthy. When he is healthy, he's a good target. And you mentioned what will Boyd see this week with A.J. Green back and healthy, okay, fully healthy A.J. Green. It's not so much as that. Again, as I think you're going to see a Cincinnati team that goes ahead and hits that middle of an injured Atlanta defense. You got 2 safeties down. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. The safeties of Deion Jones. And just one thing out there for you IDP fantasy players. There is a certain tackling machine named Vontaze Burfict who comes back off suspension next week. Might be an interesting time to grab and stash going forward because this is the guy that racks up tackles like it's going out of business. So Vontaze Burfict and your IDP players, maybe it's time to get him and put him on your roster now.
I'd say, he is a guy that when he plays, he's a fantastic IDP play. That's a good piece of information. My question on him, new NFL, does he last a quarter?
Oh, that's a good question. But I'll tell you what, if he doesn't, I'm hoping it's the loudmouth, the new T.O. that wears 84 in Pittsburgh is the one that picks up.
All right, guys, keep it going. Let's give him a double shot. Bartender, get that second shot up. Miami, New England, 3-0. If we only had a segment every once in a while called Fins on Fins, we'd have a real interest in this game.
We'd actually have something going here. And I would really like to talk to our Fins on Fins partner, Mr. Ryan Walton, and say, hey, you know what, bud? Good friends and all here, Ben, but I told you so. Okay? Don't sleep on Jakeem Grant. Stop sleeping on Jakeem Grant. This kid is a difference maker. He is a poor man's Tyreek Hill. He blows the cover off the defense. He's a great special teams player. And this is a guy that Adam Gase is starting to get involved in the offense. Albert Wilson, Jakeem Grant, Kenny Stills, near and dear to the heart of Mr. Walton. But did you notice somebody last week that was getting the ball thrown to him a bit more? A particular tight end out of Penn State. And Mike Gesicki is starting to get involved in the offense. A guy that was seeing some targets, a guy that was open quite a bit, and a guy that I think is starting to earn the confidence of the coaching staff and is starting to get schemed into the game plan. The running game is scaring me. Kenyon Drake, dude, let's be honest. Please, Hammer, don't hurt him. That was back in the early 90s, man. The typewriter dance is not back in vogue. Please stop doing the hammer time in the backfield. Will you please take a hole and hit it? Please. Okay, Frank Gore, you're getting what we expected out of him, but as a Dolphin fan, Mr. Gase, I'm calling for a chance to see Keelan Ballage at some point soon. If Drake can't seem to figure out where he wants to run the football, we've got to get that running game going. The Miami running game at this point, fantasy-wise, if you've got anything better, you may want to reevaluate starting Mr. Drake at this point. Tannehill has been good. Tannehill has been very good. I saw several plays where he ran outside the pocket, took a hit, bounced right back up. Dolphin fans that all want to bash on Tannehill. Now, do you see the difference between him and the Patriots do? They look soft. As we said on an old show that we used to have, SAWFT, the Patriots look soft, okay? Rob Gronkowski looks soft. Tom Brady looks like father time. Dude, if you want to play to your 45, you better start picking it up a little bit, man, because you've done, you haven't been Tom Brady-esque. Josh Gordon, I'm curious what he adds to that offense. Julian Edelman, another guy on suspension, should be back next week. Another guy that you may want to look to roster if he's available in your league. That is the safety blanket with Danny Amendola out of town. I think Julian Edelman is going to be the guy that is looked at. I mean, you know, Jester, we got a chance to see Brandon Cooks last night against Minnesota the other night. So here's my question. Do you think New England made a mistake on trading this guy away? Because they've already shown a couple years ago they traded away a young sack master named Chandler Jones, who, oh, by the way, has led the league in sacks since they traded him, and now they're getting no pass rush. Do you think they made a mistake with this guy as well? Because I'm not seeing it. Now, last but not least, I've been wanting to get this out there. Before I jump in, I got to do this, Jester. It hurts. I knew this was going to put me over the fall because I really hate doing this, but I'm going to have to start listening to you more a little bit on the quarterback stuff because you can make it.
Wow.
We're all about what you bet about. Yeah, I know it hurts. It really does. And I can't believe I'm saying this on air, but you've been a Tannehill fan for quite a while. We're seeing what Tannehill can do, as you said, with the same coaching staff and the same offense. Look what this kid can do when he's got some consistency. Not to mention, you've made some other good quarterback calls, quite a few of them coming up. So what else you got for me?
Well, before we get to the quarterbacks, and thanks, I appreciate that. I really do.
It hurts, man.
I'm sure. On many levels, that hurts. But no, listen, I appreciate that. But New England, people are panicking about New England situation. And see, now, as much as it hurt you to say that, it's going to hurt me to say the following. Let me pull Aaron Rodgers here for the New England fans. Relax, okay? Edelman, you're watching an offense that, hey, guess what? Here's news for everybody. Dorsett's not the answer. No kidding. Chris Hogan's not the answer. No kidding. Gronk is all he has as his safety blanket right now. Edelman will be back. Things will be fine. And you know what? Here's the craziest thing, folks. What if? Here's your what if. Because you're going to see Sony Michel now out of this backfield a lot this next game. I can promise you that. You're going to see Sony Michel. You're going to see a little White, but you're going to see a lot of Sony Michel. And you're going to see Gronk, of course. Okay? But my thing is this. What if Josh Gordon still has something in the tank? What if, and this is a reality now because just before I came on air tonight, there was an announcement by Belichick saying Josh Gordon's work ethic has impressed him on and off the field. What if? Don't sleep on New England. Now, getting to the quarterback thing, JT, it was reasonable to think that you still had the best to see out of Tannehill because there was no stability. And because of what was going on, there was no offensive line, there was no running game. And you're still yet to see, listen, I'm not saying that he's all that fantastic. He's not Brady right now. He's not Rodgers right now. But right now, you're starting to say, hey, wait a minute. He is more serviceable than I thought. And he still doesn't have, in my eyes, that running game that's going to make the safeties respect it to pull down the safety. He doesn't have that established red zone target yet, whether it's Gesicki or anybody else. This is an offense, even at 3-0, that still is growing. Tannehill's not done growing. This offense isn't done growing. And I agree with you. Maybe Balaj becomes that guy that you look at and you go, uh-oh, we've got a game plan for him Not necessarily you got a game plan for Tannehill.
Right.
So, and as far as the quarterbacks, yeah, I've kind of been on point so far. I called when Mayfield would be called into the game. I got that day right. I got the Josh Rosen for last week correct. I've got another one that is going to be completely off the wall, you might say. I have it.
Okay.
I have one. It's not the first time. Listen, last year you called me hinky with Trubisky's start date. Now, I can't call a date, although I had said that there's a chance that coming out of this team's bye week, you would see a different quarterback, which would be week 8. They have a week 7 bye week. And I said that if this team went into that bye week, only one win, which could be likely, we could see a quarterback change. And at the very least, we could see one before the end of the season. I believe we're headed down the pike where we're going to see what A.J. McCarron can do running the Oakland Raiders. I think Carr's days are numbered. There's too much inconsistency there for Gruden to work with. And everybody is concerned about, well, he just signed that major contract, $20 million a year. Folks, he signed the contract a couple of years ago. In that contract, at the end of this year, the Raiders can opt out and be only hit for $9 million in cap space. There is no tie for John Gruden to David Carr.
Right.
I'm going to tell you, A.J. McCarron is a guy that you've talked about, Jason.
Oh.
Okay, there are several people that have talked about the talent level of this kid, and I'm not talking about the talent of being able to pick up a wife, although those talents are pretty good too if you haven't seen Mr. McCarron. But this is somebody that this league has yet to see what can he do in a starting gig. And in my opinion, there's enough talent in the Oakland locker room to be putting up points on the board.
Right. Yeah, there is. And my question to you is, we saw it week 2, but in weeks 1 and 3, we saw a little bit more in week 3. What is it with Derek Carr not targeting Amari Cooper? That game against Miami last week, I saw now granted Jordy Nelson had the big day, no Rashad Jones, you got a rookie and Minka Fitzpatrick playing back that made a few bonehead moves, and Jordy Nelson, Jordy got loose for some long balls. But let's be honest, there are several plays where Amari Cooper's wide open, but Captain Checkdown Jr. here in Carr just seems to want to throw to that tight end out of the backfield. So I wonder what's going on with this kid. I wonder if he rattled, does he not understand John Gruden's complex system? I mean, what is it with this kid?
When you are throwing to wide open people, that's confidence. That's nothing but confidence. Now, he may or may not see, because now, listen, the focal point, no matter how much people want to crucify Gruden for the whole Khalil Mack and what the true situation is there, whether he wanted them gone or the GM wanted them gone, and the conflict that is currently going in within the organization. Let's not make one mistake. That is John Gruden's quarterback camp, folks, that he runs. So imagine now, all of a sudden, you have to be the guy that you've heard all this about. He is a quarterback guru. He has his own camp. And now you've got to go perform for that guy. Maybe he doesn't have the confidence level to do it. If you don't have the confidence level to do it in anything, let alone be an NFL quarterback, in anything, if you don't have the confidence level in yourself to do it, you will never do it. You have to be able to visualize yourself doing it. And if you're missing wide open men, something's wrong there. Something's wrong upstairs. Now, I don't know if it's because he's having trouble with the system or his confidence, but wide open men and the inconsistency. listen, one of the things that they talk about all the great ones, and I'm sure you can go ahead and agree with me on this one. We've seen it with every great wide receiver, okay? You throw to them early in the game to get them involved.
Right.
Well, 2 out of the 3 games, he's not even doing that. So he's not even, I don't understand. There's a lot going on there, and because of it, and once I heard that there was no tie to him whatsoever, $9 million, and he could be gone. Well, let me tell you, he better pick up that offense real quick, because Gruden ain't going to have it.
And and if you look at it, $9 million to get rid of Carr, $100 million to get rid of Gruden. Who do you think is going to be there?
So, listen, they've gone ahead. There's a lot going on in that Oakland organization where Gruden has his own people evaluating separate from the GM. There's just correct. It is just, it's sad because once upon a time, Al Davis ran a franchise that was feared, and it's become a soap opera for the Oakland Raider fans. What's coming into Vegas is a sideshow act. It's like a Vegas sideshow.
Perfect place for it.
Oh my God. All right, Jason. Well, that's. Let me ask you something about this New England backfield. Do you think? Let's get back to the games, and in particular this matchup. I have one quick question for you. Are we going to start seeing Michelle take over this backfield? Is this Burkhead injury? Is this the door to open it for him?
You would think. Also, you look at a guy that was taken as high as he was by New England, of all teams, to take a running back even at the end of the first round. Kid's got the talent. And again, like we've said on the show before about guys like Spencer Ware or Leonard Fournette, don't let their lack of catches in college lead you to believe that they can't catch the football in the pros, as those guys have shown. Sony Michel can catch the football. He showed that in his pro day. And that's what New England wants to do. They want to throw to the running back. I think at this point, he's got the talent to take over, and the door was kicked open with Burkhead getting hurt. But let's be honest, at this point now you're looking, Kenyon Barner was just picked up off working at Pizza Hut or wherever he's at to be the number 3 running back for them. I don't expect we're going to see a lot of him. So I think just the next man up, lack of options at this point, it's Michel's to run with. And I think the kid's got, like you said, the kid's got the talent to do it.
Getting into it, let's get Jason back in here. JT, we've got the next.
And that was the pre-recorded portion of JT and I bringing it to you the best we can, being able to still get him in here as he's setting up his new house, his new studio, getting everybody back in here. If you're over here, that's the YouTube channel. If you're over there, okay, that is year-round fantasy football discussion. Be taking live questions from them in 1 minute. I'll be getting back over here in 1 minute, everybody. But you heard a couple of things. And first of all, we're talking about Fins on Fins. For those of you who are new, we have a special segment once a month with Ryan Walton. For lack of a better term, he's my personal Dolphins insider. And also, we also have several Miami guests, former players, current players. We had Walt Aikens on. If you missed that show and you want to hear a funny-ass football show, go listen to the one on Blog Talk Radio where it's listed as Walt Aikens. And it is some funny. It's just a great time with him. Great guy from the Miami Dolphins. So we're going to be looking to have Ryan Walton. We're trying to get him in. He's checking his schedule for next week. Also for next week, and again, trying to get this all set up and still do the video and the Blog Talk Radio and have the guests that you've all come accustomed to. Adam Rank and I have been talking about getting it down and what we're actually going to work on and bring to you all together. We're going to be talking more this week, so we might actually see him next week. I'll keep everybody posted on that one. Real quick, I'm going to get to some games, then I'll come back over here answer the questions for the people in the group over here. Detroit, Dallas is one of my games that I'm going ahead and breaking down personally for everybody. And I take a look at this game and I see Stafford not really having the best of best games against a defense. Listen, Dallas does have a good pass defense. Right now it's giving up the 10th fewest points to fantasy quarterbacks, and also is the 4th ranked pass defense and the 7th ranked scoring defense. So between their defense being, pretty decent, well above average in all categories there, scoring, pass defense, fantasy points to quarterbacks, you really, do you play Stafford? It's a touchy play. But you're talking about a game in general that's going to be fantasy point starved because, listen, until Dallas gets their act together, and when you've got quarterbacks saying, hey, by the way, I've been open several times and Mr. Prescott's missing me, it's going to be interesting to see what Dak does and how this all plays out for him and how he goes through this as, let's be honest, Dak's a good young man. He's going to be joined in the Fantasy Jester show after the season is over. He'll be on, and we'll be able to talk to him about getting these wide receivers together and what it was like for him. We're going to see it play out live in front of us, okay, over these next couple of weeks, what he does and how Dak Prescott grows. And then we're going to have the opportunity to talk to him after the season about what it was like going through it. So that'll be good. But this one here, you're looking at a low-scoring game. Dak right now, 170 yards the first game, 160 yards the second game, and 168 the third game. He has just as many touchdowns as he does interceptions, 2 and 2. And again, facing a Detroit defense now that gives the 3rd fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks in general. 3rd-round pick Michael Gallup is just starting. Hey, congratulations. He's out there. We might as well use him, huh? You've spent the 3rd-round pick as your go-to receiver. That was your draft answer to your receiver problem. But again, the Detroit defense gives up the 4th fewest fantasy points. And you're talking about a guy in Gallup. He only had 1 target the first week, 2 targets the second week, 4 targets last week. So maybe can we get this kid up to 9 and 10 targets? I think he could be a viable, solid wide receiver 2 if we can get him up to a decent amount of targets, 8, 9, 10 targets a week. Okay. Call me crazy. But no, I'm looking this week for Dallas to really rely heavily on Zeke. I look for the first really big week from Zeke this coming week. He's gotten so far 91 a game on average, and they're playing against the team that's given up the 4th most fantasy points to running backs. So, I'm looking for a good amount, 16, probably around 16 touches rushing, 16 to 18 rushes. Definitely looking for a couple of about maybe 5-6 touches as far as receiving. Overall, probably somewhere around 22 touches overall and a touchdown out of him. But against this defense, and because they're still trying to figure out that Dallas offense, what better way for Dallas to finally get that offense kick-started is to go ahead and get that running game first. Get that running game solid, and that'll open up your passing game. That'll help your passing game. But until you do that, that Dallas offense is just going to continue to struggle. Coming up with the next game, before I get to everybody live on their questions, we've got the Jets versus the Jags. Mrs. Jester's team. How would I ever go against Mrs. Jester's team and still be able to live? Heavens to Betsy. No, honestly, folks, let's be honest here. Let's take a look at this. Let's break down the Jets and the Jags, and let's be honest about it, okay? Jets quarterbacks, the Jets are facing a Jags defense that's home. The Jets running backs are facing a Jags defense that's home. The wide receivers are facing a Jags defense that's home. The tight end are facing a Jags defense that's home. Now, while that's all ha-ha and he, let's take a serious look at the numbers. They're playing, Sam Darnold has to face the team that's giving up the second fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks. They running back Crowell, he's going to be facing the ninth fewest. They're giving up, Jacksonville's giving up the ninth fewest fantasy points to running backs. Curse and Enunwa, and Curse is starting. He's coming back now, starting to get a lot of targets. Took a couple away from Enunwa. Got to watch that and how that plays out. They're still playing against the team that gives up the fifth fewest fantasy points. Tight end, if Herndon sees a couple of balls against the fifth fewest for fantasy points in defense, you're getting the point, folks. You're not playing the Jets players this week. Thank you. As far as the Jags are concerned, Bortles faces the team that's given up currently the eighth fewest points to quarterbacks. Fournette faces a mid-pack, and yes, Fournette is playing. Don't pay attention to that questionable tag on him. They still have him listed as questionable. Everyone I've talked to that I have over in Jacksonville, Fournette's playing. Look for him realistically to be an RB2, though. Don't look for the RB1 out of him just yet. But it is realistic to see an RB2 out of him against a team that's giving up 102.3 yards per game. So Keelan Cole is a guy that should be owned because he is Jacksonville's new number one receiver. No matter what anybody wants to say, he's getting the targets. He's gone from 4 targets to 8 to 9. And they're playing against the mid-pack defense for fantasy wide receivers. All right. So, kind of looking for Cole probably to put up a 7-catch, 110 yards, and a touchdown. Put me down for that this week as I continue to hit these. Oh, sorry. Hey, we forgot the tight end. It seems like the Jags forgot the tight end too. Maybe that's why. No, honestly, Austin Seferian-Jenkins, each game, he's pretty consistent at least. He's gotten 5 targets each of the 3 games, and he's gotten 3 catches each of the 3 games, hasn't crossed over 30 yards, and has 1 touchdown. And they're playing against the team in the Jets that has given up the second fewest points to the tight end. So between the lack of targets, the lack of yards when he does catch, and playing the team that gives up the second fewest points to tight ends, we know how I feel about that one. Let's get over here. Real quick before I take the questions, I just wanted to point this out to everybody. I know that everybody wonders, being a Giant fan, can I be fair about the teams that I don't like and all that? And I'm about to point out a stat to everybody that are New England fans. A good friend of mine is from wrestling. I don't know if you're into wrestling, if you're listening, but a guy named Jimmy Hart, and he's a devout New England Patriots fan, and got a chance to talk to him. And, one of the things about New England, folks, you got to pay attention to. I've got a couple of stats here for everybody. Since 2010, and this is why this game this week for New England is so important and why they have to win. And it's not just that it's a divisional game and it's Miami, okay? Since 2010, New England has never been worse than 2-2. They've been 2-2 twice. They've either been 3-1, 2017, 2011, and 2010. They were 3-1. They've been 4-0, 2016, 2015, 2013. Okay, so that they've had 2 seasons where they started 2-2. Everybody's talking about, is this the end of Brady? Is this the end of the Patriots dynasty and all that? Even if they win, they're still only 2-2. Well, let me throw this one out for all of you, and hopefully this will get you New England fans a little bit more relaxed, especially because I really, believe it or not, even though I do cover the Dolphins heavily, I think New England wins this game at home. And they will be 2-2. And at 2-2, in 2014, they were 2-2. In 2012, they were 2-2. Both times, They went 12-4. So much for that, huh? But they might be 2-2. This is why 1-3 would be something that they haven't done in a very long time. That makes it this game. This game here, you go 1-3, maybe that's when you start worrying about that New England Patriot offense and team in general. Let's get over here. Let's get back to questions. Bob, how you doing, Bob? Good to see you. Sleeper tight ends, who you got as an Ingram replacement for this week and moving forward? You know what? Great one, Bob. Got to be honest with you. One of the guys that's on a waiver wire, it seems like pretty much everywhere I've gone. I just gone around and scooped them up in a couple of leagues. I told a friend of mine to scoop them up too. Going to tell you folks out there, you got to like Seals Jones out in Arizona. Okay, you got a young quarterback. And all young quarterbacks, their favorite thing is the tight end. If you don't know that already, and I'm sure a bunch of you do already know that the favorite target for a young quarterback is the tight end, the guy right square, right in front of him. And in this case, you see an offense where they have two rookies that are struggling. Kirk is not playing anywhere near what he should. So you got two rookies that are struggling, and you've got Fitzy being Fitzy, but Fitzy's going to draw coverage because, well, hey, listen, everybody knows they really don't have much. So Fitzy's also dinged, and they're going to be looking for another weapon. They're going to be looking for another weapon. They're going to be looking for a go-to guy who last year came on as the season progressed. Look for that to happen here. I look for a good Ricky Seals-Jones as a guy to pick up in the meantime with Ingram. I definitely, without a question. Ingram scares me. Ingram's starting to worry me. As a Giant fan, okay, Ingram's starting to worry me just simply because he's starting to prove to be a little fragile. I mean, it's something to pay attention to. We'll keep an eye on that for everybody. All right, so moving on. Phil Chaplin says, sneak peek. Sneak peek at you, Phil. What's going on? Travis Olson, don't tell Bob anything. I'm playing him. Trav, too late, brother. I should have known that a little earlier. Sorry. Don't worry. I help you. I give you advice, my man. Okay, Mike Stucker. Shit, I'm at work. Pouring a Guinness for one of my tables. What do you think about Taylor Gabriel in a flex position this week? Him or Wendell Smallwood, 1 point PPR? I'd probably, in this week here, I'd probably go ahead and lean on the idea of Smallwood still. Ajay's going to come back, but Ajay's going to be limited in action. You're still going to go ahead. No, Smallwood, never mind. Smallwood, no. They both suck, Mike. Mike, hit me up in the morning, brother. Hit me up in the morning. We'll go over that one-on-one. I'll talk to you about that personally. Hit me up tomorrow morning on that one. I don't like either one of them, honestly. There's got to be something. There's got to be something better on your waiver wire. I'm willing to bet it. Bob, different league, Travis. Okay. Jonathan Jacobellis again. You still think Winston is going to start if Fitz puts up another 400-yard game and a streak? If Fitzy throws up 400 this week, I'd be shocked. And if they win the game, does he throw up 400 and the win? See, they're going to be looking for a reason to go ahead and still play Jameis. He's going to have to put up 400 and the W to even sniff at the idea of keeping Jameis on the bench. They have no running game anyway. That's right. Should I start Miller or Shepard? Standard scoring. Travis, I'm going to assume that you're talking Anthony Miller or which Miller? Because they're wide receivers, I'm going to say Anthony Miller or Shepard. Anthony Miller's not playing. Okay, he's hurt. He's out this game. Shepard is a fantastic play this week, folks. There's no Ingram against a team that just lets up a ton of points in New Orleans. Okay, Shepard is a phenomenal play. Baker is the man. Phil chimes in. Yeah, he really is. I gotta admit, I wasn't as crazy about him until I started really watching more film of him during this preseason. And Baker Mayfield, being able to extend the play is one thing. Staying accurate on the move is a whole nother one. Glenn, I don't know how to pronounce your last name, brother. I apologize. Standard League, Boyd or Fuller? Boyd or Fuller? Boyd or Fuller? We've got Cincinnati and Atlanta, and then Fuller is Houston. Yeah, that's pretty close. I'm gonna have to give that one a push on that one. I'll give that one a push. I like both equally, so either one on that one. Either one, honestly, that's about as close to even as it's gonna get. Lamont says, hanging on to RSJ. I still believe in him, even with Rosen at the helm. Yeah, and you should. Rosen's not garbage. What was garbage was what. Listen, it can't be any worse than what Bradford was doing, okay? And you know DJ's going to get going. I've heard people, is this the end of DJ? Is he a one-hit wonder? Shut up. That's about as silly as I've ever heard, folks. Silly as I've ever heard. All right, couple more, and then we got to get back to the pre-recorded part. Let's go with Marvin Jones, Crabtree, or Smallwood. PPR need one. I'm going to go with Crabtree on that one, Phil. Crabtree on that. Let's get back to the show. We've got one more portion to give you folks. I'll come back live. I'll be answering some more questions as we continue on. Fantasy Jester Show, Blog Talk Radio, every place that you can find a damn podcast, let's be honest. We're alive over here, year-round fantasy football discussion. A completely shitty group, people are awful. Great group, great people in it. Obviously, if I'm there, I'm joking, folks. Great group over here. Over here, this is the soft opening over here for the YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us over here, starting a brand new thing for video. Never really thought that the golden pipes were great for radio, but that people would actually want to see the blue beard. And as you see, if you're just joining us, pink everything, pink glasses. Thank you to my sponsor, Miami Sunglasses, for these bad boys. And little pink everything. I'll be like this for the whole month of October. Breast cancer awareness. Folks, got to protect the Tatas. Let's get this next piece. Let's get JT back in.
Getting into it. Let's get Jason back in here. JT, we've got the next group for you to sit and, chew on for the public. Give me your opinion on Philadelphia, Tennessee. What do you see for this one?
Well, if Mike Vrabel's done anything for that Tennessee team, that defense is good. That's a good defense. They play hard. They're fundamentally sound. They tackle well. Dory Jackson cleared out of the concussion protocol, so he's back in full practice, ready to go this week. Offensively, there's been some challenges. Between Mariota getting dinged to start the season, Blaine Gabbert getting banged up, Mariota coming back. I believe Mariota's ready to go this week. I talked about Mariota earlier this year when we were doing a little preseason talk football. The guy's a great athlete. I don't think he's a good NFL quarterback. I think he's an average NFL quarterback at this point. His athleticism is there. He's again, another guy that can't stay on the field. And when he does, you just don't see enough from him to make you believe in this guy. If I'm a Tennessee Titans player, do I feel this guy can bring us back in the fourth quarter to win games? Do I feel he can control the ball consistently? I just don't see it. Their running game and offensive line needs to start opening some holes. When guys like Derrick Henry and Deion Lewis are getting hit consistently behind the line of scrimmage, that's ridiculous. These guys are getting hit a yard and a half behind the line of scrimmage. You've got to give these guys a chance to get rumbling with the football. Here's what concerns me, Jester. You lose Delaney Walker week one of the better tight ends in the league. A little bit older, but still a quality tight end. A guy that saw a lot of targets. Now, when they took Johnny Smith, the whole purpose when they took him, the front office continuously called this guy a Delaney Walker clone. Why is it that the guy had no catches his first start and one catch last week? They are not targeting him at all. And I've watched some of the tape. It's not for the lack of this guy getting open. I mean, he's standing there waving at the quarterback, throw me the football. Nothing.
Right.
This kid's got the talent to be a difference maker in that offense. They've got to find a way to get him the football. A guy that was near and dear to your heart. Talk about difference makers. Corey Davis, get him involved in the game. 4 and 5 catches. This isn't going to get. You got to feed this guy. He needs at least 10 to 15 targets a game. Feed this guy the football. He will make you look good if you do. We flip over to the Philadelphia side of the ball. The return of Carson Wentz. He looked good. He looked confident. He moved well. He had good control, good tempo. Doesn't look like he really missed a step, to be honest with you. The offense, though, they need some kind of a difference maker at that wide receiver core. I know Alshon Jeffrey is not far away. Can he be that difference maker? It's another guy that I'm not a big fan of, but a guy that can go up at high points of football, go up and get those 50-50 balls. I mentioned it a little early in the show. We got a chance to see Dallas Goedert with Carson Wentz, who lit him up. Even with Zach Ertz in the game, we still saw quite a bit of Dallas Goedert from a guy that I actually went out and picked up in a few leagues just to see what we're going to get. It looks like Wentz seems to really like this kid. The running game, okay, we've talked about Jay Ajayi before. Unfortunately, we have to talk about him again. This guy, yes, he's talented, but I'm sorry. Do you really trust this guy? Another guy, you never know if he's going to make it out of the first quarter, let alone a full game. The most talented back on that roster is still, and to me, will be for the rest of the year, is Corey Clement. Guy that has the ability to run between the tackles, bounce the ball outside, and catches the ball well. Wendell Smallwood looked pretty good in that offense. So Philadelphia's running back, you're going to have kind of a 300 monster again this week. Jai gets back in there, which all signs point to him doing so. But all in all, when I look at this in a fantasy matchup, if you have a better option than Wentz, which myself, the team I had Wentz on, I had Cousins. I played Cousins. I don't like the matchup for Wentz against Tennessee. I think that team gets to the quarterback, and I think they're going to tee off on it, Justin.
Interesting. Let me start with Tennessee side. I've got to ask you, as far as they're concerned, don't you think that there's a good chance that the return of Jack Conklin is going to help that offensive line maybe get their running game going the way it should be, the way it used to be, as far as being able to dominate from that right tackle side, not just Taylor Lewan's side. I'm looking possibly where this is a game where you start seeing what you expected. You hit on something that was intriguing there about the Jonnu Smith. And do you think that possibly the return of Mariota, and if he stays in the game, will have an effect on that maybe Jonnu Smith wasn't used because it was Gabbert in there? Do you think maybe now you'll see a return? Because it seemed like Mariota was comfortable going to the tight end, whether it was Walker or Jonnu Smith.
Jonnu Smith. Yeah, you bring up a good point, and maybe something else to kind of tie into that. If you see Conklin on that right side, maybe Mike Vrabel will feel a little bit more confident about not leaving Johnny in the block as much to help out with that right tackle. Maybe it'll free him up to get back out into some passing routes, and as you pointed out, Mariota does light up the tight end position. So on the waiver wire, and why? I mean, that's, you know what that is, Jester. That's these players. These are the same players you and I made fun of when they on the show where we said, "Oh, remember the guys that said Darius Geis is out for the year?" Well, there goes my season. Well, your season's over because Darius Geis is out for the year. Your season was over before the season began. Let's be honest. People need to give guys a chance. If they've got the talent, they've shown something, give them a chance.
How long before we see either Woodyard or Arakbo lining up a tight end on offense, getting that touchdown, huh? From a Vrabel offense, huh? Can't be too far off, can we?
No, he caught it exactly. I mean, he's ready for it.
Who gets the touchdown first? Woodard, Arakbo, or Jonnu Smith, folks?
Oh, well, hopefully it's Jonnu Smith out of that group. Otherwise, there's something wrong.
Oh, I tell you. And then getting over to the Philly side, last week, as I was having an air week, I had an air week last week, Jason. I made 85, what's the numbers? There's a meme that went out. When you're hearing this, the meme already has gone out with the stats for last week. 85 calls, I hit on 69 for 81.2%. Oh, thanks. That was my bad week so far of the week.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's the thing. I did mention that the running backs by committee would go on last week while everybody was pushing to which back. I said it's not going to matter. It's going to be all three, and that's part of what I got. One of the things that you're going to look at with this Philly backfield, you're going to see the same this week because Ajay's going to get his carries. He's coming back. People are wondering, how can he come back with a broken back? Well, folks, it's not exactly the back that's broken, okay? It's if you run your hand down your back, you can feel what's called the transverse process. It is the part that sticks out from your vertebrae. And that is what has a crack in it. So he's not in any danger of becoming paralyzed from it. The only thing that he's in danger of is a lot of pain. And last time I checked, they have stuff for that. So he'll be fine. He's going to play, but I only expect, JD, what do you think? You think he I'm saying maybe 10 carries?
I would say 10 to 13 touches total.
Total touches. Okay,
yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, that sounds about right. I go with the 10 carries, three catches out of the backfield. That's probably about accurate. I like that one. All right, continue on. What do we have for the next one for you there?
Ooh, a game that just, man, I think I've got my first candidate for the Super Bowl of 2018, Seattle versus Arizona. Oh, man, I don't even think their fans should be forced to watch this game. Is there a more boring team to watch in the NFL right now than the Seattle Seahawks? And is it me, or is it sad to see Pete Carroll run up and down the sidelines quicker than any of the players do on offense on that team? It's just, wow. Come on. It's like you're in slow motion. The other day I'm watching the game, and I'm thinking, I got the TV on slow. No, it's on regular speed. Russell Wilson. Yes, Doug Baldwin's on the sideline doing his best Antonio Brown imitations, throwing a fit at the offensive coordinator and the wide receivers coach. But let's be honest. Tyler Lockett's starting to come into his own, I think. This is the guy that's starting to show some dependability. His route running has drastically improved. I think that's been the knock on this kid over the last couple of years. Just give him the 9 route, and that's about all he had. But you saw some nice routes from this kid. Catches the football well. Electric with the football in his hands. Tight end positions, they let Jimmy Graham go. Will Disley, he had one big week and a couple of so weeks after that. Not somebody I'm going to trust in the offense. We flip over the other side of the ball. New York Giants. Well, every team in the NFL. Brandon Marshall. He's got a couple good balls. A guy that's veteran out there catching. He seems to get to the stick, but not a guy that's really going to light up the fantasy world. The running game, Chris Carson got fed the ball, a guy that we talked about last year on this show, and Chris Carson delivered. Looked good, ran hard against a good Dallas defense. But I don't think people realize how good that Dallas defense can be. Just ask Saquon Barkley a couple weeks before that. They shut that running game down. It's a good team. Chris Carson shows up on the injury report. I believe he's still a full go. Seattle. It's a team that, fantasy-wise, outside of Carson, maybe Lockett, there's really not a whole lot for me to talk about. But the guy I do want to talk about, to the flip side of the ball, guy that Jester, you called when he's going to start. Here we are. Josh Rosen. The yawning Josh Rosen from the sideline. The uninterested Josh Rosen from the sideline will make his first NFL start. That offense means something. Why? How you can have a player like David Johnson, and if one person more comes up to me and says, "Oh, he's coming off of an injury," it was a wrist injury. It wasn't a knee injury. It wasn't a leg injury. It was a wrist injury. It should not affect him in any way, shape, or form out on the field, other than teams are stacking 9 in the box against him. Well, last time I checked, he's a pretty damn good receiver out of the backfield. I don't understand what Sam Bradford, you can understand the mistake there. I don't understand what he was looking at. Get involved. Feed David Johnson the ball, whether it's in the passing game, the running game. Get him going. Guy that I saw you sneak in last week, Jester, in a couple of leagues I'm with you, and Mr. Seals, Ricky Seals, caught a touchdown. Looked pretty solid out there, so maybe a guy that we can start to see on the ascent. Larry Fitzgerald, I believe he's a full go in this. At least that's the last I've heard. Haven't heard anything to say otherwise. But their receiving core, outside of Larry Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk, Reggie Nelson, at this point, there's not a whole lot of weapons other than David Johnson consistently wise for the kid Rosen to go with. I see him kind of in the Josh Allen situation. Justin?
Taking a look at the Seattle one for you, my question is, I currently have, because they're saying, and from every report I've read, that the man that shares my daughter's birthday from Gulf Breeze, Florida, Doug Baldwin, will be returning to the Seattle offense. I'm starting to think that you could see, I'm seeing Baldwin. I've got him down for 5 catches on 7 targets, about 70 yards and a touchdown in his return. Again, this is a young man that shares my daughter's birthday, so I've got to root for him. And seriously, though, if he plays, do you see him do you see him coming back that first game and helping that offense at all, or is this an offense that's just in too much trouble because of that offensive line?
The offensive line is atrocious, but let's be honest. Just the sheer fact that he would replace a Brandon Marshall in the starting lineup is an improvement. But the fact that he draws Patrick Peterson, that doesn't help the situation a lot. So that's a tough draw to come back off of injury. Patrick Peterson is still one of the best corners in football. So I think it's an improvement, but I don't think it's one. I don't think he's a guy that I'm confident in starting this week if I've got anything else remote. Even the kid Washington from Pittsburgh, even somebody who's a third receiver at this point, I'd probably still feel a little more comfortable with starting than I would Baldwin coming off injury with that offensive line and in that matchup.
And just real quick, wrapping up on the Seattle tip, let me ask you, I currently have Chris Carson as a sell. They're going to, a guy that goes ahead and gets 30 carries and still just barely cracks 100 yards is somebody that is going to, I think that they're going to just run that kid ragged, and then by middle of the year, second third of the year, basically as we get closer to playoffs, the fantasy playoffs, that's going to be the time to own Penny. What are your thoughts on the Seattle backfield?
I understand your thinking on Carson and your sell there, which I don't disagree with you. I'm not a Penny fan. I see a guy that reminds me a lot of the guy that he replaced in college in Donnell Pumphrey. I see the same type of player just because it worked at San Diego State. Granted, it worked for Marshall Faulk, but that was a different offense a long time ago. Just because it worked for Pumphrey in college didn't translate to the pros. I don't know if I'm a Penny fan as far as it translated to the pros, but I like what you're saying as far as trade Carson, because at this point right now, with the amount of running backs that are banged up, or the guys like LaShawn McCoy that are underperforming, you could probably bring back a nice haul on that kid. And I agree with you. He is going to get replaced, and it's not going to be too far away.
That's pretty much how I'm looking at that backfield. And then as far as Arizona is concerned, you got to like Ricky Seals-Jones is the guy that came on as the year progressed last year. In fact, that same thing once you got Rosen, who is going to, that everybody knows the tight end is the young quarterback's best friend, okay? And on a team where you have either Larry Fitzgerald that you're throwing to or two rookies like himself, but those two rookies have proven to be inconsistent at best so far. Very underwhelming for targets for him. I see it becoming the Larry Fitzgerald, Ricky Seals-Jones show as this season unfolds in Arizona. Now, as far as David Johnson, folks, again, I've got to defer to Mr. Aaron Rodgers on this. Relax. He didn't forget how to run. And much like the Giants' woes, give that line a little time to season. Same damn thing. Let that line work together. They're going to get, first of all, now they're going to have to step it up even more so because they know it's going to take a rookie longer to read an offense. So it's going to be in their heads that they're going to have to step it up as it is, and they will. And you're going to see them rely on David Johnson more. And the thing that's going to pull the safeties out of the box for the Arizona Cardinals isn't going to be Christian Kirk. These guys, the two rookies are just too inconsistent. It's going to be a tight end pulling those safeties back because if Ricky Seals-Jones has the ability, has the hands to make you pay. I wouldn't really worry about this Arizona offense, and I think Rosen, much like Allen, much like Mayfield, are guys that are going to succeed. They are better. They are in better situations than people give them credit for. That Buffalo situation too, Jason. It's not the greatest one points on an NFL defense. I don't care what defense it is.
On the road.
That's what I'm saying. So relax on Arizona, folks. But I like what you gave on that, JT. Good stuff.
That's right. That was our recorded portion from last night. What we're doing to be able to go ahead and as we're getting all the new things set up, JT in his new place, and still be able to get him on here for everybody, that we're pre-recording on Friday nights so that we can bring him on the Saturday night show for all of you tuning in on the YouTube channel, the soft opening of the Fantasy Jester Show YouTube. Please go subscribe. I'll be going ahead and posting that everywhere this week. Everybody that is over here will be sick of seeing it, I'm sure, but just subscribe and we're all good. Anyway, going ahead, let's break down some more games and then I'll get back over here and answer some more questions. Over here is year-round fantasy football discussion. If you're not there, there's something seriously wrong with you. If you're on Facebook, you should be in this group, okay? It really is a great group for discussion of fantasy football. Everybody's a lover in there. Go check it out, folks. If you're not already in there, you should be. Get in there. That's what we need. I need to get one of the wrestlers in here. I need to get one of the guys in here and put me through a wall as he's saying it or something. Wait a minute. I've been through the wall recently. I'm not going through the wall again, hopefully. If you missed that one, go check out the Fantasy Jester videos, some of the crazy shit that I have done. Steel chair a dozen times, going through a wall, diving with sharks, no cage, and next year is becoming a reality. We'll be setting, we've got an Up in Flames match, a wrestling match where somebody is going to get set on fire next year. So some people are wondering if it'll be added to the diving with sharks, no cage. Steel chairs a dozen times, a beatdown that was just That was a good one, folks. I walked away sore. I have to listen. I am not anywhere too man enough to say the truth of the matter is after the dozen shots with a steel chair, yeah, I was pretty sore the next day. I'm not going to even try and front on that one. There's just no way. The Sharks with no cage. Fortunately, I came back. Didn't feel a thing the next day. Fortunately, I didn't get my ass bit that day. But yeah, Sharks no cage. That was fun. I invite everybody to come check that out too. And again, next year, somebody's going up in flames in an up in flames match. The loser of the match will be set on fire. So we're going to be announcing the wrestlers for that and those matches. We're trying to put together one more show before the end of the year, a good wrestling show for everybody. You're going to want to pay attention for that, too. We got so much crap coming up, folks. If you're a sports fan, if you're a baseball fan, a wrestling fan, a football fan, it is really time to pay attention. Tell your friends, Fantasy Jester, that crazy bastard's up to something at any given time. And he actually gives good fantasy advice. So does Jason Townsend. You can find him, Fez437. You can find me on Twitter, Fantasy_Jester. I'm on Instagram. I'm a little bit everywhere. I'm becoming the whore of fantasy sports, if you will. Hopefully, are you a good hoe or a bad hoe? Hopefully, I'm a good hoe. Right now, I'm a hoe with a pink beard, though, for breast cancer awareness and all the other hoes. Oh, no. For breast cancer awareness and all the ladies out there. Let's get to a couple of games, get back to answering some live questions. Thank you all for joining me. The Fantasy Jester Show is, let's take it down the home stretch. Cleveland versus Oakland. Mayfield Mania is going to be hitting the NFL airwaves this week. Shame it's not at home, folks. That would just send it all. Imagine Mayfield starting the game at home this week. Just would send it completely over the top. But, hey, listen, last week, off the bench, 17 of 23, 201, no touchdowns, no interceptions either, though. I mean, off the bench, half a game, 200 yards, just like that. And he's facing a team in Oakland that's given up 5 sacks. 5 sacks. They have gotten 5 sacks in 3 games. If only they had a defensive player that was good at sacks, huh? Anyway, they're a mid-pack fantasy defense, so look for some moderate success. I expect Juice. Juice is Jarvis Landry for you folks out there. Juice, I expect Njoku probably to get his first one here, maybe even 2. Njoku might actually get 2, but I expect Njoku to definitely get one. Watch Callaway. Listen, they face a defense giving up the 5th most fantasy points, these wide receivers. I expect Antonio Callaway, to bring back possibly wide receiver 2 numbers this week. Definitely a solid flex play. Hyde plays against the defense giving up the 8th fewest. And again, look for Mayfield. You're really going to be seeing the Mayfield show. He's going to be putting on a nice show. Hyde faces a team giving up the 8th fewest. He'll have a decent game, but smell that. I hate to do this to people. You know, it's like, are you jinxing it? Are you wishing it on them? No, man, I'm not. Don't be an idiot. I'm not wishing it on the man. I'm just saying, aren't we due for a Carlos Hyde injury either this week or next? I hope you have Chubb stashed on your teams, folks. I really do. I just feel it coming. Don't ask me why. And I'm not wishing it on the man. Yeah, probably a good guy. I don't even know the damn man. Why would I wish it? I got people I'd wish shit on, trust me, but he's not one of them. Carr. All right, listen. You heard me earlier in the show, and if you missed it earlier in the show, I talked about how the Oakland Raiders and Chucky aren't attached to David Carr as much as people would think. 9th fewest. Now, before I get into the stats, let me go back to what's going on with Carr. Listen, you got bye week coming up. Okay, bye week is week 7. If they go into bye week 7, with 1 win, I'm saying McCarron is the guy coming out starting week 8. And if at the very least, if somehow Carr finds a little bit of success and is able to hold him off, but still continues to be the inconsistent pig that he is. I mean, it's absolutely all 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Let's be honest. My fat ass could do better than that. 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and you've got the quarterback guru of the quarterback camp, okay, and you're producing 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Coach, put me the fuck in there, okay? I'm dead serious. That's terrible. It's not like he's got garbage around him either. So A.J. McCarron might actually get the chance that, JT, if you're listening to the show, in the past, we've talked that if only A.J. McCarron could get a chance, I think this could be the year. And Oakland's not attached to Carr for next year. The $20 million contract, and if you missed it earlier in the show, the $20 million contract, it doesn't matter next year. It changes. There's a clause in the contract that it changes after this year, and the Oakland Raiders would only be on the hook for $9 million. Carr is not attached to that team. Chucky doesn't have to keep him. A.J. McCarron has the talent to run a team, I'm telling you. Saints, Giants. I saved the best for last. In the Saints-Giants game, normally I go with my hometown Giants first, okay? Yeah, I know I'm in Florida right now, but originally, for those of you new, I'm from New Jersey and a big Giants fan. Well, I'm big, period, but, besides that, Giant fan. Saints, Breeze is going to, let's be honest, okay? Back in 2015, not too long ago, folks, Drew Brees slapped the Giants around for 7 touchdowns. And while the defense has gotten a little bit better, I still see Brees throwing up 300-plus yards, 3, maybe even 4 touchdowns, okay? You got Michael Thomas, just making catching the ball an art form. It is. You ever want to watch a receiver and learn how to catch the ball? If you've got a young child out there and they want to play football, have them go watch Michael Thomas, okay? If you've got a young buckaroo running around and I want to play football, Daddy, and you want to be a wide receiver, son? Okay, here, go watch Michael Thomas, son, and this is how it's done. He has caught 38 of 40 balls this year. 38 of 40 balls. Period. That's just ridiculous. 398 yards. Okay. I expect them to get at least 133 and a touchdown in this game. The Giants are giving up the 10th fewest points to wide receivers, and more than likely he's going to get Jackrabbit. So with that, I expect Michael Thomas to have a Michael Thomas game. But the guy that you want to watch and is a good sneaky play if he's available out there, and he might be in some leagues, is Ginn. Ginn is extremely fast. There's no Eli Apple this week, and much to everybody's chagrin, Eli was playing a lot better corner than he did last year. So, again, looking at Ginn this week to have a nice game. As far as Kamara goes, listen, he's got 430 yards from scrimmage, folks, this year in 3 games. And he's got 1 more game until Ingram comes back. And they're going to let him run wild, and he's going to catch the ball. I look for 13 runs out of him for 50 yards, but where he'll do his damage, 9 catches, 120 yards, and a touchdown for Kamara. On the other side of the ball, the beloved Giants, look for Eli. Eli last week, 25 of 29, 297, 2 touchdowns, no interception. He actually had some time. He's thrown for 800 yards so far. He's got 3 touchdowns on the year. They're playing a team 3rd most fantasy points to quarterbacks. You're actually playing friggin' Eli this week. Unbelievable. Odell. I keep hearing crap about Odell and how he's doing. he's not really doing that great. He has no touchdowns. Listen, he's played 3 games. He has no touchdowns, but he's still on pace for 1,400 yards and over 120 catches, folks. I'm gonna let's take a wild guess. The touchdowns are going to come. I've heard the Julio Jones comparisons. Okay, stop it, stop it, stop it. As a matter of fact, that zero goes up by 1, maybe 2 for Odell this week, as Odell has a nice game, and so does Shepard. I mentioned this earlier in the show. Shepard's been getting targets. Shepard got 7 targets the first game, 5 targets the second game, 7 targets the third game, and now with no Ingram, you're going to look for those targets to even go up to maybe between that 7 to 10 range, okay, for Shepard, and he gets his yards. So I'm looking at Shep getting probably, 8 catches for a little over 100 yards and a touchdown out of Shep. Saquon Barkley, it's kind of been hit and miss with him, okay? He got 106 his first game. He got 28 his second game, got 82 the third, and it really is – he's going against the team that has given up the second fewest fantasy points to running backs. So as much as I love Saquon, if you're going to use him this week, the biggest benefit you're going to get out of him are those PPR leagues, because while I expect him to possibly get maybe about 15 touches in the running game, I expect him to get 7 to 10 in the passing game. So PPR, you definitely rolling Saquon. You're rolling Saquon anyway. I look for Saquon and Kamara really to have pretty close to similar numbers by the time it's all done, both with the same effect. Little rushing yards, but heavy in the PPR game. That's the breakdown of those games. We're going to get to your questions in a minute. One of the things I also want to let everybody know, we still haven't done the afternoon games. Where are the afternoon games? Why aren't they here? Well, folks, it's real simple. Because the rest of it is given tomorrow morning. We do the late afternoon games, the Sunday night game, and the Monday night game every Sunday morning now over on the Fantasy Jester page. And I go ahead and give the breakdown on the final games of the week over there, 9 o'clock Eastern time. Fantasy Jester page. If you're not already part of the Fantasy Jester page, the only way you're going to get answers tomorrow and find out about the late games is on the Fantasy Jester page. The only way you're going to get answers if you have last-minute lineups, besides in the great group year-round fantasy football discussion, you can also go to the Fantasy Jester page first thing tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. And while I'm wrapping up the rest of the late games, I'll also be taking questions there. But I have promised to wrap up the last of this show with some questions over here. Let's get to it. To the great people who've been sitting by, waiting, hoping, will he get to my question? I hope he answers my question. It'd be really nice. I've been sitting here this whole damn time hoping that he answers my question. This bastard better answer shit. Otherwise, I'm going to be pissed. I'll never watch him again. I'm going to tell you. Well, here I am. Let's answer the questions. If you have to pick a defense, this is Travis Olson. If you have to pick a defense between the Lions and the Ravens, which one do you pick? Let's be honest, folks. Against the Ravens, they're playing Pittsburgh, and even though they always play each other tough, okay, you got to go with the Lions in this one. They're playing a Dallas defense that really the only thing you're going to see is a running game until Dak gets things down. How can you believe in that defense? In that offense at all in Dallas. Drew Price asks Brown or Watkins. Which Brown, sir? There's a couple of them. And I don't know which Brown you're talking about. Give me PPR, all that. Drew Price, if you're still with us, Drew Price, Brown or Watkins, give me more details on that. Lamar Carlisle says, I picked up Dez Bryant in a couple of leagues. Just got a feeling. What do you say? I want to know what that feeling is. I'm a little scared to ask. I'm really scared to ask what that feeling is. that would make you even want to pick up Dez. Dez, I doubt that Dez even gets picked up, and even when he does, I mean, look at his stats the last 3 years. You got to catch the ball. I heard this so much about, it was Dak not getting him the ball. No, well, when the ball got there, what did he do with it? Dez didn't do anything. You know what, Lamont? I used to think better of you, man. You disappointed me. You're disappointed. I'm only kidding. Drew Price. I'm stashing Gordon, hoping he lights tomorrow and can become a regular in my rotation. Again, Drew, I expect tomorrow that you're going to start seeing a couple of touches in the game. Will you see a full-blown attack using Gordon tomorrow? No. Will you see a full-blown attack ever using Gordon? Man, I don't know. I don't see that. I don't see that they're using. They've never been regular about anybody. I see Gordon as a very good flex play the rest of the year. That's what you would keep Gordon around for. Anything more is gravy. And is there the chance that there's more there? There is a ton of friggin' upside. In the dictionary of upside right now is Gordon. Let's be honest. He is the unknown. We don't know. Was he great? Yes. Could he be? He's not. He doesn't have a rookie quarterback. He doesn't, no matter what you might say, well, maybe Hugh Jackson isn't that great. Maybe, the quarterback situation in Cleveland isn't that great. Okay. No, you're going to an established team with an established quarterback, an established system, one that goes about their business in a whole different way than most teams out there. Right now, Gordon is in the best situation that he could be in because he needs to be, wherever it is, it needs to be structured. With that addiction problem, you need that structure around you, and what better place than New England? So, yeah, I mean, you're talking about a guy that, to me, his floor, Josh Gordon's floor is flex, and his upside, high two, low one. Really, it could be anything. We don't know. And is it capable of happening? This is Tom Brady. This is Belichick. Yes, of course it's capable of happening. Brad Gilbert asked, Big Ben or Breeze? Wow. Ben against Baltimore or Breeze against the Giants. I got to go slight edge to Breeze on that one simply because Baltimore always plays Pittsburgh tough. You can get anything there. Brad Gilbert also asked, what should us Amari Cooper owners do with him? Make little Amari Cooper dolls. This is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and revert to voodoo with this son of a bitch. It really pisses me off. I'm still holding him. I'm still holding him. I'm hoping that one or two things happen. Gruden cleans up Carr's yips, or McCarron comes in. If McCarron comes in, we could go back to seeing what we really should be seeing out of Amari Cooper. Scott Magnuson asked, Tannehill or Brady? Folks, listen, as far as Tannehill and Brady go, I've got to go Brady in this one. Even though Miami has the really good fantasy defense, okay? I just see this is a game where they're playing an opponent that they're familiar with at home and going to start getting that Patriot thing going. And I see where this game here is one where I can see Tannehill maybe struggling a little bit because Belichick is familiar with their system. I can see a game again where maybe Drake is indecisive in the hole. And again, like JT mentioned, start keeping an eye on that situation because if Drake goes, and Drake doesn't do well, they're not going to fire up Gore as the regular guy. They're going to fire up Balaj. So you might want to keep an eye on that backfield. But no, between the two, you're firing up Brady over Tannehill tomorrow and pretty much most days, folks. As much as I love Tannehill, he's not there yet. He's not there yet where you start him over some of the elite guys. Phil Chaplin says, Sean Lee injury, impact to RB receptions. You know, Phil, it affects yards after the catch. It affects, let me take a look at it and thinking about it. Okay, I've thought about it. Van Der Esch is going to fill in. And he's very capable. I mean, he's very fast linebacker, and they took him high for a reason. And part of that reason was because they know Sean Lee and injury goes together like Sarah Lee. So, yeah. Riddick or Johnson, Phil Chaplin asked, Riddick or Johnson, if it's PPR, you probably lean in a little bit more towards Riddick, but look for Johnson to continue. Johnson's doing all right, folks. And we're going to talk about Johnson tomorrow morning over on the Fantasy Jester page, 9 o'clock. Get that in there, Eastern. But Johnson, look at his yards per carry. This kid, if they learn to continue to give him the ball, Kerryon Johnson is a guy that you can go ahead. I'd recommend even trading for. They're going to continue to use him more and more as the season progresses, in my belief. Lloyd Cubicub. Lloyd, I hope I pronounce your name right. I really do. I don't mean any offense by saying anyone's name wrong, obviously. Carson or Lindsey, non-PPR. You got to go Lindsey on this one. Non-PPR. Non-PPR, they're still going to ride Carson. Listen, everybody says, why are you staying away from Carson? It took 32 friggin' carries to get 100 yards. That's why I'm not crazy about Carson. I'm not crazy about that offensive line in Seattle. But non-PPR, you got to tilt it towards Lindsey. Doug Headley asks, Cooper, O.J. Howard, tight end, Hooper, O.J. Howard, 1 point PPR. Slight nod to O.J. Howard in that one. Erica Fail, is it? I hope I pronounced that right, Miss Erica. One flex spot for Anunwa, Ridley, John Brown, Miller. It's a tough call for me right now. Full point PPR. Anunwa's losing touches to Curse and plays a tough matchup. There goes Anunwa. Ridley's got a decent matchup, but I can't see 3 touchdowns out of him again. And actually, I see more out of. I actually see them getting Julio the ball in the end zone. I actually call him for a Julio touchdown tomorrow. That's crazy, huh? John Brown. John Brown is a nice play. I'd have to go John Brown or Miller right now between the two. And Baltimore is going to be playing Pittsburgh. And Miller's got the nice matchup there. No, I got to tell you right now, Houston's playing the Colts, and that Colt defense is better than people are thinking. Even though Miller's going to have a decent game, is that PPR? It's a full point PPR. Miller or Brown, and I'd have to say, gun to my head, I'd go Miller in this one. One of the few times he has to. Okay, let me put it to you this way: Miller, after a 10-yard performance, if that young man doesn't know his job is on the line with somebody coming off the pup real soon that can take his job, that was drafted to take his job, I don't know what to say. I don't know. John Brown or Miller. going to go Brown or Miller. I got to say a push between those two. I can't really decide. Sometimes it's a push, folks. I'm going to tell you, when I can't decide between the two because it's that close, I'm going to say that too. I'm not going to sit there and go, well, I have to give you an answer for sure if I don't have one. Carson or Lindsey, we said that. Kerryon Johnson, Amari Cooper, or Corey Davis in the flex, full point PPR. Doug, Kerryon Johnson for sure. Amari Cooper is too erratic, and so he's too erratic, and so is Carr. And Corey Davis, until they start getting that boy the ball more than what they're doing, they got to get him the ball like 10 times a game. Bob says, appreciate the info. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Bob. I'm doing everything. I'm pedaling as fast as I can. I'm doing what I can. James White or Royce Freeman, Phil asks. Phil is, again, oh, okay, there. He says PPR after. Thanks, Phil. No, I'm going to tell you right now. Wow, that's close. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to go Freeman in that one because they play such a bad defense. They really do. Lamont got Detroit defense as my sleeper this week. Any thoughts? Yeah, they're playing an awful offense, one where Dak has yet to throw 200 yards. That's my thoughts. Higgins, any thoughts on Higgins? Higgins, not anything fantastic. Certainly not this week. Might get a couple of looks. Again, I see a Callaway, a lot of juice. I see a lot of juice. And I even threw out one Njoku touchdown there. So how long does Dak have before they bench him? The wide receivers are already throwing him under the bus. Dak has this season. Dak has this season, and my guess he has next season. Now, does the coaching staff, your question should be, how long does the coaching staff have? If the Dallas Cowboys continue to struggle, okay, say goodbye to the coaching staff by the end of the year. Dak will have this year. Dak will have 1 year to prove something different under a new coaching staff next year. So Dak's job is safe. And you know what? The best way to shut up wide receivers, throw the ball their way. Put it in their hands, and they'll do that. They've got to first get Zeke on track before they can even think of play action, pulling coverage, and all that stuff to help them. Eric asked, defensive stream, rank in order. Lions, Packers, Seahawks. Fair enough. I like this one. All right. I'd have to go with Seahawks, Lions, Packers. Seahawks rest of the season. Your defense, Lamont? Don't really know. All right. Wrapping them up. Tom's not going to tuck him in at night. Good one. Lamont says Foreman. Yeah, Dr. Foreman, folks. If you don't know about him, and I've got to wrap up, it's we're pushing overtime here. We've already shut down Blog Talk. We said goodbye to them. Still got the YouTube going over here. We got the group going over here. Wrapping it up for the Fantasy Jester show. Donta Foreman, folks, is a guy that's coming off the PUP list. He's had an Achilles injury, and it was close. He almost was ready. He was almost ready for the start of the season, and sooner than rush him, give him that extra time. After all, it is an Achilles, and you want him at full strength. So they've waited, put him on the PUP, and he's a guy waiting on the wings right now. He is probably the most talented fantasy back on the waiver wire right now that has a chance to take over the starting spot, especially from a guy, like I said last week, putting up 10 yards on 10 carries. Yeah, your job's in danger, buddy. Phil says, thanks, Jester. Appreciate you. Keep up the good work. No, guys, I appreciate all of you, everybody tuning in tonight, whether you were in the group, you're over on YouTube, Blog Talk Radio, every place else. Thank you so much. Again, folks, it is my pleasure. It is my honor each and every week to go ahead and bring you what I can, and JT and the gang and the guests and all that stuff, okay? To all of you, you allow me to wrap my life in what I love, fantasy sports. So thank you, all of you, for your time. I'll catch you tomorrow morning. Fantasy Jester page, we'll wrap up the late games. We'll get the Monday night game. We've got next week, we'll join in. We'll get more people in, maybe some Ryan Walton. We'll see what we're going to do. We've got some crazy shit planned with Adam Rank. Join us next week, folks. I am the Fantasy Jester, and I am out of here. Have a great night. Take care, everyone. Good luck this week.